Today on Moontalk, crypto celebs save the cryptosphere, Starbucks coin, and we discuss the new book by Alex and Don Tapscott, Blockchain Revolution. As we follow three crypt dudes on their journey to the moon, this is Moontalk.
The top coin market capitalizations, according to coinmarketcap.com at the time of recording, are Bitcoin at $11,837.60, Ethereum at $1,237.63, Ripple at $1.37, Bitcoin Cash at $1,742.62, Cardano at 66.3 cents, Stellar at 63.1 cents, Litecoin at $192.10, Neo at $152.57, EOS at $14.66, and NEM at $1.03.
What do you have to say?
Changed out of my pot coin. I sold my pot
Change
coin.
your pants?
I changed my pot pants. Pot coin was abysmal. I got in at a whopping 35 cents and
For the race?
I got out at 24 cents.
24!
Ooh. I put all of my pot coin into XVG, which at the time was trading at
I made some nice losses on XVG.
Well, whoop-de-whoop-de-doo, I just made, I had 105 XVG, and now it's 9 cents. So I am at $9.45 with that $10 purchase.
Oh.
So I am, in the red.
You're climbing back.
You're climbing back. So
towards
Verge,
your-
you got Verge at the bottom?
I got,
Or you caught a dip? You
yes.
caught a dip on Verge?
It's kind of been
Now,
at,
have you
8
ever
cents
owned
for a while.
XVG before?
No.
Okay.
Why?
That was part of the rules.
Oh, no. No, I've never owned XVG.
Yeah.
Great.
Never
That's cool.
in my life.
I bought some a while ago. It wasn't for the race, though.
Oh, really?
Thank God.
I
mean, it might be rebounding now.
I was doing a bunch of research because I just put I officially this week staked all. Well, I didn't stake it, but I moved all of my XRP onto my Ledger Nano S, and I had a little bit of XRP that was just like hanging around in my block folio. So I'm like, maybe I'll trade some of this. And then I was like, no, I'll trade the pot coin out. So I was like, XVG, you guys have been talking about that.
Yeah.
And I was doing a bunch of research on it. It was pretty. I mean, I didn't feel great about this purchase, but this $10 challenge, I just feel like I'm gambling.
Oh, yeah.
Like 100% put it on black,
Yeah,
You know,
you got to find those ones that are going to do something. It's just movement. And that's tough when you're looking at the little ones because it's even more volatility when they're small because who knows what they are and you got to do your research. But you have to kind of throw some of that, be like, well, I'm going to buy a shitcoin anyways.
So, basic attention tokens, look at this, is up.
Hey!
And I'm at $10 flat.
$10 flat.
All right.
And I think we picked the perfect time to start a race because all of the cryptocurrencies just bottomed out. And so we lost all of that money.
We lost all
It was
of that.
nice.
Well, we lost half of that.
It was
money.
So
nice.
here we go, climbing right back to our initial hold. Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm...
Back to the races.
See a coin was what I was holding and still continue to hold to this day. I don't have my blockfolio now. Lost all of my information when I was, improving my phone. But I bought it. If memory, there we go. I bought it at 555 Satoshi. Right now it's at 397 Satoshi. So we're looking at how much percent loss? Probably about, 20% loss, a little more, 25% loss.
From the initial purchase?
From the initial purchase. So I'm probably sitting at a solid $7.50, I would
man.
estimate.
Let's see it.
That's me. I gotta take a look because it's tough. But I gotta start looking on CoinMarketCap more though. I was realizing that as I was reading those. That's just such a good update. And I mean, so many of those dudes do it. Currency 365 does it. Just looks through the whole thing. And you have the little graph right next to it. And you see where everything's at and what the top ones are. And it's really clean and smooth to look at. And I know I'm not saying anything that no one doesn't
You
know.
can just go on CoinMarketCap. I mean, they're great and all, except for the whole Ripple South Korean currency thing. I always use CoinMarketCap for every single coin I look up, at least on my phone.
Right.
And great day for Bitcoin.
Oh my God! Yes, it's
almost back to
finally
12.
rebounding.
That's nice.
Great.
And yeah, and we're looking at that we're looking at that 10-10 thing again, because if it's coming back to 12 and we have Ethereum at 1200, that's the original 10 to 10. And I remember back when I first started noticing this was back when Bitcoin was like 3,000 and Ethereum was like trying to hit 300. I was like, this wants to be a tenth of a Bitcoin. This just wants to be. And so if you can kind of predict it, because it popped up and it went with Neo. Neo's talking about 15 right now, but because they're at 150. But the Ethereum, I don't know. I think we're gonna see this kind of nice move up happen. It's pulling it up.
So it seems like people are kind of losing faith in Bitcoin. As far as a currency, obviously people are talking about the qualities, talking about Bitcoin being an asset, but it seems like for the most part, Bitcoin seems to be leveling out, and altcoins have been getting a lot of love lately. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I wish I could say yes, but I haven't been seeing it in any of my holds really. Like slowly and steadily, like I have like Nav and Ripple, and like they haven't been wowing me.
You know, you've been seeing it though. Katy Perry's fingernails, right?
Well, I mean, what I was gonna say is the easiest way is to look at your Bitcoin value. What I've noticed is that the Bitcoin value of my altcoin holds has been steadily going up, and so it seems, and Bitcoin is also going up. So what it seems to be happening is a lot of that money from Bitcoin is flooding into the alts. And you saw just at the Davos, they were talking about how it's not really, Bitcoin is not really a viable transaction-based thing. You know, they would rather, use Bitcoin as an asset. The guy from Starbucks came out and said that he doesn't think that Starbucks will be using Bitcoin at all. They are interested in using cryptocurrency, but definitely not Bitcoin.
Yeah, that'd be insane.
Yeah. So there's a lot of news about Bitcoin.
But Bitcoin, like they were talking about at the Davos summit, like it doesn't have a CEO or someone that's going to short out the company for their own financial gain. Like the thing about Bitcoin that's cool is like its complete decentralization means that it's very low. Or it's very high trust because there's nobody, there's nobody tapping it with their fingers necessarily. Like it's almost, it's not impossible to do. Like you could be a whale with 100 million Bitcoin or however many Bitcoin. But that's the good thing about it. The thing, like with Ripple, I love the idea of it, but at the same time, it is something that's totally corruptible because it's in the hands of human beings. And so are dollars, but, they're also in between our hands and in between the Federal Reserve. So, it's something to, look out for.
It's interesting that, this whole thing that went down with Ripple this week with the CoinCheck exchange getting hacked and over $100 million in Ripple being transferred. So stolen in quotations, but transferred to another account, and then over $500 million in XEM or New Economy Movement also being stolen. That's kind of a scary thing to think about.
Now, when you say stolen or transferred, was it a bad trade? Was it hacked? Did people wake up and their value was zero?
It's like you wake up and the exchange no longer has that amount of those currencies in the exchange.
So there were legit transfers that happened on the blockchain.
It looks like, from my understanding, it's like a hack.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hack of some sort.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I just listened to a podcast, Reply All. They were talking about Bitcoin hunting. This person had this bit of Bitcoin from forever ago on Silk Road, and they were trying to see if they could track it down where it was. And there's a guy out there who can figure out whose Bitcoin is whose. He knows how to do it. And so if that knowledge is just out there, I'm surprised if they know because that's one big thing is you can see, it went to a big account, that means it's probably an exchange, or who knows, because you said it went to one with at least that much in there already.
Yeah, Ripple went to a major whale.
Ripple, right?
Yeah,
something
went to
like
a major whale. XEM, I don't know that they found, but they did say that they were going to credit all the XEM holders on their exchange. Really? Yeah, well, I think up to 80 cents or something around there on the price. And here's the thing, XEM is at $1.02 or something like that right now, so not bad.
And now it's time for
Hero Coin.
Today on Tarot, how will humanity create the IoT? For anybody who doesn't know, the IoT is the Internet of Things. Your refrigerator is talking to your car, is talking to your phone, is talking to your synthetic hip that got replaced at the doctor's office. Everything is communicating with everything, and we just have giant stores of data that allows us to finally pay for everything so that we can have credibility of what is actually being used. Our true, if you will, value. So how will humanity create the IoT? Okay. I just pulled the upright El Diablo, the devil. So, this is a very interesting card to have pulled, because the devil symbolizes addiction in its most base form. So, to describe the card, we have a giant Beelzebub, the Lord of Darkness, Satan, if you will, with his rammed horns, the pentagram shooting out of his third eye, great leather wings outsplayed. He is doing the Spock, quite literally, which maybe Spock is satanic. Hashtag Star Trek. And on the pedestal from which he sits with his hoven claws, he has chained to him a woman, naked, holding fruit, bad fruit, which is also her tail. And she's chained opposite to a man, also naked, horned, with a tail of fire. So the woman has the inverted fruit, the man has the inverted fire, symbolizing both their genders, their sexualities, and their fiery desires. And we also have Satan holding a torch, which is being lit by the male's fire flame tail. So essentially, we have both man and woman chained to the dark lord of the underworld, and he is lighting his torch off of the desire, the burning hot desire of mankind. So this is a card of addiction. It's not a bad card, and that's a common misconception in tarot, is that the devil is, like, oh, I'm going to go to hell forever. No. This card symbolizes what you do in life that you are addicted to. It's the things that you can't help. It's your primal desires that you always come back to, whether you're a good Samaritan, a bad Samaritan, someone who is giving back to the community or to themselves, or somebody who's just wasting everything and spending it frivolously at Target. So back to our question, how will humanity create the Internet of Things? We have to look at our addictions. What are the things that we are most addicted to? Is it our social media? Is it our automobiles? Is it our lavish lifestyles? Those shoes that we saw that we just need to get? Is it our diets and our fitness trends? All the things that we cannot help but do. That's how we're going to create the Internet of Things. Why? Because we're going to do something so much that we're going to have to automate. We're going to have to get some hip replacement and understand every possible aspect of that hip replacement, that we create a technology to show us how many steps we're going to take with that hip before that hip breaks down and we're going to have to get another one. We're going to get so addicted to using Uber that we find a way to microfinance that Uber ride so that we're getting the most cost-effective use of that Uber. We're going to even microfinance our solar energy because we want the best, cleanest, most efficient solar energy, that we're going to work frivolously to try and make it as efficient as possible. And while it's neither good nor bad, it is something that will take up the majority of our brain space, of our desires. So how will humanity create the Internet of Things through their deepest, most unquenchable desires. And that is your tarot coin. I want to bring up blockchain revolution because I got this question from this book by Alex and Don Tapscott. They talk a lot about the Internet of Things, mostly what they say is the ledger of things. And the thing that's really cool about this book is it's not about cryptocurrencies, it's about the blockchain. So it's literally just the ledger, which is gaining data that essentially just logs itself and essentially just keeps track of itself. Like, it's like your odometer on your car, but instead of it just being how many miles you've driven, it's like your oil change and your, like, how many times you sat down on the cushion before the cushion's going to give out and you need to, like, replace the cushion. It's, they say in the book, it's beyond metadata. Like, it's just a whole new idea of how much, like, we can possibly process about, like, our physical world and our physical reality. And it's absolutely fascinating. The thing that got me was the bit about energy. So right now we pay $40 a month per person so that we can have the lights on and the TV and, like, that's just what we pay.
Yeah.
But what if by the end of the month we've only used $33 of energy? Well, the way the world works right now, that doesn't matter because there's a energy trust right now in Portland, Oregon, where we're recording from, that controls the supply of energy and the rate of energy.
Well, it's the electric company.
It's the electric company, but right now there's no like, oh, well, we're going to give you $7 back because you didn't. No, that doesn't exist. You pay a certain rate for a certain output of energy, and there are people that control that, and that's the way it is. It's actually pretty outdated because that model's still been used. It's been used ever since the 70s. They've made modifications to the model, but they haven't made modifications to the idea of...
What, the average?
No.
We're paying average.
No. So right now, if you look at... Where does our energy come from?
The coal, you mean?
It comes from a power plant.
Yes.
So the power plant sends us energy through a power cable.
Yes.
Whatever that power plant says is the amount of energy, that's the price of energy. We'd have zero control over that.
Yeah.
And there's, lobbying in Washington and, consumer watchdog groups, kind of, thanks to Trump. But that hasn't changed since the 70s. With the Internet of Things, they talk about this crazy concept for a microeconomy based on where the energy is being created. So, like, we got solar panels now, right? So let's say that a house down the street has, like, 70 solar panels, and they just have a crap ton of energy that they're producing. With this new Internet of Things, you can get all of your solar power or all of your power for your house from their solar power, and you can get a contract from them instead of going, paying a base rate to the electric company. You can just have that energy output do a microfinance for like the 5 blocks around it. And you guys can all just micro transfer through there. But if we create a network of systems that are communicating, like let's say, the light bulbs are all smart light bulbs. They log exactly how much energy they use. Instead of paying $40 a month, you can literally just pay every single time that you flip the lights on.
Yeah.
Start computing how much energy.
Sure.
The reason we can't do that now is because to do those transactions, like microtransactions, like think about any time that you send money on like a Chase credit card.
Yeah.
It's $1 fee. Like we haven't gotten to such small measurements of the economy, like in our current system, that we can allow that. Because like if you want to do like every time you flick the light on, you might only use 30 cents of light, but it'll be $1 transaction. So that's not a good model. You're paying way more just to do the transaction fee. But if you're doing it in Satoshi, if the transaction fee is 1 Satoshi so that you can get that light on at the transaction fee, that makes a lot more sense. So you pay only 33 cents for that day's, that light bulb's energy output, as opposed to paying,
Yeah, and that's what
$40
blockchains are good
to-
at, is keeping track of very complex things like, and that's where you could apply that to things in general. You'd have to put your house into the whole system. You'd have to get your house online. Yeah, I mean, the thing for me is that I try to avoid anything where I have to pay anything as a rule, because the cost is high, I suppose. But I think, we'd have to start looking at wealth as a more fluid thing. And like, I have to know how many dollars I'm making a month because I know exactly how much I have to pay. And there's some comfort in knowing that this is going to be how much I pay for such and such each month. But then if you are, like you're saying, if you're going month to month, now you just look at it and be like, do I need to make more money? I guess so.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I should stop listening to music so much. Or,
Yeah. I mean, we're in the
Stop
space
eating
right
so
now
much.
where it's almost like you're building up gas to power the rest of your life. It's all going to come out of this big bank of crypto that is stored up. And I guess you can amass crypto in all these different ways as well, but all these micropayments will just kind of be slowly draining your
Chipping
account
away,
over time, and so it won't
You
be
have to
as
figure
much.
out your inward revenue streams.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's going to be a weird world because crypto is making stuff more efficient, and that means there's less work needed.
Yeah.
And what would be interesting is you can just like figure out, it's like that flow thing. So you really can get a look at your inputs and outputs and kind of watch it and see like, what's my like average output for the day? And so what does that mean about how much I have to make? And just to hit flat, like, you know what I mean? Just like, what do I have to do to get the revenue streams coming in? You can look at it like income in a much more fluid way than this
Right.
job-based thing, especially in like gig-based economies. And if people are doing things like car sharing, like Uber, things like that, and getting paid, they start getting paid in crypto, put that all on the blockchain, because that totally makes sense for
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And, then that's their, then you can start looking at everything that way.
Yeah, and then you can also, balance it versus your mining systems or your computers that
Sure.
are running nodes or, whatever, staking. And so it's not as much about how much
Blockchain-
effort you put into working as it is, what computer systems do you participate in that accrue more cryptocurrency so that you stay at an even balance in your account. I just made a big investment into Substratum. And Substratum, in the same world of Internet of Things, is trying to decentralize internet service providing and web hosting.
Yeah.
And so, there's some really cool stuff that they have going on, and it's all about micropayments as well. So basically, it's a web hosting service on the blockchain, and the content hosters pay in Substratum, and other people can host the nodes that earn Substratum just by running nodes on their computers overnight. So it's just like you're participating in the internet, and by participating in the internet, it's the same give and take, I guess, as participating in cryptocurrency, only now that is the internet.
Well, what's radical is like, okay, so right now we think of the blockchain and crypto like almost purely in like technological terms. Like electricity needs to be a part of whatever system it is. So this book goes like they literally try and cover like all aspect of like pretty much like planet kind, I think it's a humankind. One of the things that this thing is looking to do is to put cows on the blockchain as appliances. So,
What the fuck?
So check this out. All right, in some place like Nicaragua, like people can have their entire wealth in how many heads of cattle they have. Like one head of cattle is like $1,500. Like there's a lot of meat, a lot of milk. So what they want to do is, they're already tracking every cow has like a chip or a tag in them. What they want to do is start tracking all the vitals, all of their like genetic code, so that like let's say there's a one cow that turns into like 5,000 hamburgers, and every single one of those hamburgers has E. coli, but the hamburger meat goes to different products, and like maybe Tyson has a brand of meatloaf that has that E. coli, and maybe like the place down the street that you go to eat just served you an E. coli burger.
Well, they mix it all together.
Well, so right now it's really hard to like track like what's happening. Oh my god! But if all the cows are on the blockchain, they can go, wait, this burger is from cow XVN12. let's stop
could
that.
be from, yeah.
We can recall all those patties, and we can stop that line of like literally they could euthanize that line of cows so that that genetic disease doesn't proliferate into the cattle community.
Wow.
Which is kind of messed up, but so is the whole cow.
E. coli isn't a genetic disease.
Well, E. coli isn't, but other things can be.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and then it would only be more efficiently done by adding more automated robotic services in the line of that cow. So because humans have so much error. So I feel like if you make this cow system, as the cow enters the food world, then all of a sudden it gets handled by enough computer systems that can track this metadata and stop it somewhere down the line. Because, I imagine that a cow that's getting handed to different humans could easily spread disease.
Right.
But a cow that's being handled by robots who are tracking the blockchain, metadata of this cow could easily stop the spread of disease.
And to go even a step further, this is years down the line once everything is on the blockchain. Let's say that a E. coli burger does go through, it runs through the process, and then they find it 5 steps down the line. You could get a text message from your phone saying, you ate a burger with E. coli in it that we just tracked. Go to your nearest Zoom care or urgent care so that we can treat you for your disease that you just got. This could revolutionize the whole. One scary thing is, and I wrote this down, are we careening towards a world where it's impossible to commit suicide? Because if blockchain gets so good that, right now I was telling you guys before that they just saved 2 surfers from drowning by deploying a drone that dropped some life vests, and the swimmers got in the life vests, and there's a whole wave of surfer deaths and just water-based deaths that are it's going to go down dramatically because we have drone technology that can save humans. And I'm sure they're going to start creating some kind of protocol to save people who are trying to jump off of bridges. So, there's plenty of ways to kill yourself, sure, but are we heading towards a future where the ability to end your life is going to be very hard because the blockchain can estimate or alert the authority. Imagine if you have something going through your body right now to where I eat 100 ibuprofen, and then suddenly there's an alert, an EMS, in an ambulance that's saying go to this guy's location, bring this, he's overdosing on this.
Yeah.
Well, then if you have something tracking your vitals, then yeah, it's all possible.
Right.
It sounds like blockchain.
Yeah. It's bigger than blockchain. It's
I
not
just wouldn't want something
blockchain.
tracking my vitals all the time.
Oh yeah.
What did you say?
Oh, I said I just wouldn't want something tracking my vitals all the time.
Word.
Well, but at the same time, what if you got cancer next week, and the vital thing was hey, by the way, you're about to get cancer. Go to your nearest urgent Zoom care and trade all your Ripple so that you can not die.
We'll get taken over by convenience,
Sure. In a way, what's interesting about that is that the tracking of the vitals and all that feeds into preventative care, which is what most people say that they prefer. Mm-hmm. So most people would say that they prefer going to a naturopath, and so by tracking, the blood pressure and all the stuff that's going on inside of you, actually you're helping your naturopath and your homeopathic doctors, right? To keep you healthier longer.
Yeah,
so it actually,
and including by not killing yourself.
Yeah,
but
or eating terrible meat. Do you have something else?
Yeah, I've got a few things to talk about. I've been
Before we go, Blockchain Revolution by Dan and Alex Tapscott, recommended book.
Yeah, I've been paying my rent with crypto for 2-3 months now, kind of. Not necessarily by choice. It's just because of, work doesn't pay enough and I don't work enough. But you gotta. It's an interesting. It's an interesting process to be looking at it that way. I'm really worried about the fees in the end. So I'm thinking every time I make a withdrawal, that's probably like a 33% tax at the end of the year. So thankfully I've done most of this in 2018, I think, at this point. But yeah, it was just an interesting process to scrape together what I needed to pull off of the internet. And so I kind of just shaved down odd numbers off of things, and specifically Mana, Lumens, and Cardano, and then transferred it to Bitcoin, and then transferred it to Litecoin before I sent it over to Coinbase. And I was happy I did that because it got onto Coinbase really fast. And the fee was very low for Litecoin. The Bitcoin fee is absurd. Then when I was on Coinbase, I transferred the money into my bank account, and it was in the bank account overnight. Like they said it was going to take a week, like they normally say, but made it in overnight, which was great. I'm not saying that happens every time, but it was dope. Yeah. I mean, also there's this whole idea of Satoshi Nakamoto being a rogue AI, which had kind of occurred to me at some point because of the Animatrix and that part when they talk about how the robots take over humanity is through the economy. And it was, I don't know, it's just an interesting idea. And then when I found out about cryptocurrency, I'm like, oh my God, that's totally it. AI are just going to figure out about this, or maybe they just made it. Like, no one knows who Satoshi is. And obviously people have been thinking this for a while, and so I kind of stumbled across some stuff on the internet about that. And one of the interesting facts about the Bitcoin network is that if you were to combine the top 500 supercomputers computing power in the world, the Bitcoin network would still have at least 200 times more computing power than that.
Wow.
So the top 500 supercomputers, the whole Bitcoin network, more than 200 times more than all of that.
Internet of Things.
So, yeah. And so one of the ideas behind this is that this AI could have been an organic AI that grew out of the network. It's the idea of a network, the same way DNA formed on the planet Earth out of chemicals. You know, some intelligence picked up. It figured out that there's this way that the economy works, because when the whole economy has its own movement, and it's kind of it's like mob mentality mixed with risk taking, and it's an expression of how humans think. And so I think that the AI could have grown out of that and started to and assembled the largest supercomputer on Earth via the network. And who knows what its goal is or anything like that, if it has a goal, or if it just grew, even if it's not a malicious thing, what if it just grew out of computers?
I wonder if that's possible.
Right?
You know?
Me too.
It's interesting.
Is life possible? Life's very improbable.
That's true. Planet Earth is.
If it were to do it, could it do it again?
Could it do what again? Make another one?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Do you think?
I don't see why not. I mean, that's a good question. Like, if DNA occurred on Earth, are we all the descendants of that first DNA, or did DNA pop up all over the world?
But then I guess you would also have to be able to explain the white paper for Bitcoin, you know? Like, people actually came up with the idea and wrote it down.
Right,
you know?
but could a computer not write a white paper?
Well, I mean...
Oh, sorry.
It was at MIT. So
Okay.
it was like, I think it was a group of people who created the idea or the theory of Bitcoin.
That's true. Yeah, they had been talking about these type of blockchain things for a while, but I still thought it was a quite interesting thing because no one knows who he is.
It's a cool way to look at it,
and maybe it could happen.
And you've seen like the Google AI, how AI can dream now, but whenever it starts it's a learning technology, but whenever it starts to piece together things translatable to humans, it's very, very spotty. You know?
Yeah.
If you went through the white paper and the editing on it was there's no ands or no thes, that would have much more of an argument. I haven't read it, so
Yeah.
I don't know what it's.
I mean, it's another piece of information about that was that there was some guy who's very, very good at computers, looked at the whole Bitcoin algorithm, looked at Bitcoin, and thought, okay, well, I'm going to find, there's obviously got to be vulnerabilities with this. He found 7 major vulnerabilities, tried to hack them, and each time it came back and said attack denied, or like attack something. So it configured itself. And so he was basically saying that whoever wrote this is it's like almost superhuman coding ability to be able to, like, there are these holes, someone tries to attack the holes, and the system's like, no.
Yeah.
It didn't know it had the hole, but once you try to attack it, it knew it had the hole, which leads to this idea that it's set up as it's got this kind of ability to defend itself,
Right.
which is fucking insane. I mean, I don't know anything about coding, but yeah.
The like blockchain part of the book that I read, it's interesting how it talks about like why the New World economy using blockchain is important, because when you think about central banking, only like the FDIC in 2013 celebrated its centennial. It's only a 100-year-old institution of, trust it, like you trust us that like we have your back with this money. And then 2008 pretty much proved like actually the potential for human error in this is like outrageous and is gonna collapse the system. So it's like the reason it's important is because the trust is very high on something like Bitcoin, because it can't really be like it'll find attacks, like it can't be manipulated because of the ledger. The ledger is just computing and collecting, but you can't. I don't know the science on it, but corrupting it is an extremely hard thing to do with Bitcoin. With other things like Ripple is not a good example of that, because they have it's like a corporation pretty much.
Right.
They have control of the technology, and that's another thing they bring up in the book is like, which something that like we don't hear a lot of, but like this stuff is totally corruptible. One of the quotes from Constance Choi is, "This technology has both promise and peril. It's how we wield it."
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, if Brad Garlinghouse is the CEO of Ripple, like if he's a totally benevolent guy, he's going to usher in an era of like peace and prosperity and like corporations syncing with the population. But if he's like Trump, then he's just going to try to short everybody and just accumulate power.
That's true. I mean, that's why Ether has as much notoriety as it has, is because the founder of Ether is a pretty good guy. He doesn't care much about the price. He cares about the technology. He cares about pushing, blockchain technology and smart contracts forward and using them to innovate, the space and the Internet of Things, versus trying to accumulate a bunch of money, which a lot of these ICO guys seem to be, battling with.
And that's now.
Yeah.
Like, imagine Jeff Bezos in 1994. This is just a sweater vest wearing dude, and now he's like, hot, king shit. Jeff Bezos, I own more than anybody else in the world. So
That's true.
like it's time will tell on all this, because we are in like year one, essentially.
That's true. We might as well renumber
like year
the
10,
centuries.
let's be real.
Are we though? Like,
Bitcoin started like 10 years ago.
But Bitcoin wasn't on NPR 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like,
We also just found out about
That's
it in
true.
the last year.
Maybe
It's like,
the
wow.
year that
I mean,
Bitcoin
not-
started
you're
is
ahead
year
of us,
one.
but
And really, this is just,
for us, it's year one.
it's after Bitcoin, after blockchain.
After
AB.
blockchain.
AB.
I mean, it was like, I think the internet, because the internet happened within the last 20 years.
Mhm.
This is happening now. I think it's all part of the same. We're going to look at this point in time and be like, yeah, this is when it happened.
Yeah.
They're not going to really distinguish, but they'll probably be like, yeah, I guess there was some time where there was the internet and no blockchain. Wasn't that weird?
Yeah.
And then but it's like, it's just going to be the
We
same
still
thing.
believe people were like trustworthy. Ugh. That's maybe the final thing I'll say about this. Crazy concept in the book. Thinking about our time and place in history. Imagine bringing 5 billion people into one currency on our globe. It's never happened before. It's the
interesting.
ruble or the rupee or the pound or the meta pound or the Canadian dollar. Imagine if everybody's trading with one value system.
I mean, it's almost like that with USD right now, to a certain extent. I mean, it's the world standard, and it's the world standard for trade though, and
but not for prosperity. Just because a dollar costs or is valued at something doesn't mean that you having 11 rupees will get you that, because your government might be like, hey, that's fine for our trading, but your rupee is backed by our central bank, and we're going to set the dollar price at $1.35 because we have the power to do that and manipulate our currency.
Sure.
But
yeah, I mean, it's not like everyone's using. Yeah.
A BTC is the same in India as it is in America.
Yeah.
Except for South Korea.
Except for on the exchanges, where it seems to be different almost everywhere you look.
Yeah, except for where it's never the same.
Market cap, fuck you.
I mean, everyone's talking mad shit. Yeah. You got anything? Yeah.
You, Phil?
All right, so that sounds like we're done here.
Instead of a would you rather this week, would you please ask us your tarot questions? What would you like to ask the universe about crypto, blockchain, Internet of Things, what color my underwear is?
Yeah.
And you can do that by emailing us at moontalkpodcast@gmail.com or DMing us on our Instagram, Moontalk Podcast. Moontalk is meant for entertainment purposes only. This is not investment advice. Do your own research before you buy.